Doane College is up next. Coach Franzen, 5 years in Crete, a graduate of Doane College, coming off a record of 3-7 in 2010. Doane and Coach Franzen.
All right, I want to thank Corey and for putting all this together and doing the good work he does for the league at the Holiday Inn, for putting on the event today, and also the media for coming out and covering our conference. Our SID, Rick Schmecker, who, as I say every year, does a tireless job of covering the Tiger sports and does it for next to nothing. Keeps coming back, so that tells you something. Coming off of last season, I think if you would ask any of our coaches and players as a whole, it was a disappointment for the team. Our staff has been at Doane, most of us anyway, for 4 years. I think for the most part we've improved from year to year. By the end of the season last year, we finished on a high note, but we spent a lot of the season last year really trying to right the ship, so to speak. And going into this spring, we wanted to get back to basics. We wanted to concentrate on a couple of things that we thought we really lacked as a team last year in certain games. Toughness, good old-fashioned physical and mental toughness, competitiveness, just lining up, and whether the game's going as planned or whether things get a little bit scrambled, standing toe-to-toe and competing for 4 quarters, and then discipline, just little things, not the big discipline problems and that sort of thing, which fortunately we don't have a lot with the kids that we have at our place, but paying attention to detail, doing things right, buying into what the program is all about. We picked up a few transfers in January who, as a coach, I noticed have made a big impact for our team on the inside, attitude, understanding how to work. A couple of the kids came from bigger programs where they've seen college football on a little bit of a bigger level, which at a small college, that's good if you can bring some of that on board. I'm hoping that these coaches and you out with the media will notice the impact once the season starts that some of these kids are going to have on our program as well. When you look at our team, I think the biggest area of improvement that we need to show this season to get to where we want to be is on the defensive side of the football. Last year we struggled in stopping the run, and as any of the coaches up here know, if you can run the ball offensively against the team, that's what you're going to continue to do and run the clock, and if you cannot stop the run, there's a lot of miserable Saturdays. Unfortunately, we found ourselves on the short end of a few of those. So we've worked on improving our defense. We switched over and we're going to run a new defensive scheme this year, which I think will help. It'll fall out a little bit better. Our kids will fall a little bit better into what we do with the type of players that we have. Our defensive line, we've developed some depth. Not sure yet what the quality of that depth is, but we do have more bodies to throw at an offense with our defensive line. Clayton Calling will be back. He missed almost all of last season with a first or second game injury, but we got a medical hardship for Clayton. He's going to be back. He had a really strong junior year 2 years ago, and he'll be a defensive end for us. Nate Rogge is also another defensive lineman who we expect big things from. He's been has moments where he dominates, and then you don't notice him for a while. So Nate's going to be a junior this year, and it's time for him to really step up. And like I said, we have several other players who we think will be able to fill in the spots, and hopefully depth won't be a big concern for us as it has been at times in the defensive line. Our linebacker core defensively is our strength. We have some returners, some guys that have played a lot of football. Dalton Reba will be a senior for us. Joe Knott will be a junior. Lance Shiflett will be a junior. Those guys all played a lot last year for us on defense. And then we have a fellow named Jeremy Wallace who transferred in January. He walked on University of Nebraska a couple of years ago, and we're fortunate to get him. And he'll be a sophomore as far as eligibility goes, and he'll be playing in our linebacker core as well. And we think he'll give us a big physical presence in the middle. Our secondary, we feel, will be solid. We have some guys coming back who have played quite a bit. Byron Evans had a very good freshman year a year ago, and will be back this year as a sophomore. Devin Johnson missed most of the last 2 years with a couple of injuries, and we're hoping that he can come back and be a solid contributor for us. Josh Mills will be a senior. He's been playing for us in the secondary a couple different spots since his freshman year. And then we have a guy coming in named Kali'i Jackson, transfer safety, who we think is going to fill a big void for us on the defensive secondary at some spot. He's played safety, he's played corner, and we're excited that he's going to be playing for us. Our special teams, our kicking game, we feel very solid with. Andrew Nielsen will be a third-year kicker for us. Didn't put Andrew in a lot of position to kick a lot of field goals last year. I think he was 4 for 5, which is good. By the end of the year, Andrew was putting the kickoffs right down about the goal line every time he kicked the ball off, which is a really big deal. And Andrew will be back. We feel good about that. Our special teams unit as a whole, we feel like we need to be more of a big play unit. Not necessarily looking at the individuals, but just as a whole, we haven't gotten the big plays out of the unit. We haven't lost games with our special teams, but we think that we can be better across the board with our special teams. Offensively, we were solid last year offensively when you look at the statistics, but we were very one-dimensional. We've been a good passing offense for most of the last 3, maybe 4 years. The thing that we need to do better, though, is run the football, and that's where we're looking this year to improve. Our offensive line, I feel, will be one of our strengths as the offensive line coach. If it doesn't work out, point the finger at me. But we have some good players back. We have a lot of experience back up front. Kevin Rorick was a second-team all-conference center for us a year ago. Nick Cookshausen started, this will be his 3rd year as a starter. He'll be a senior. Jake Conley and Dylan Carmichael are 2 offensive tackles, a couple big guys on the edge. A kid named Joe Petrovsky transferred in January from University of Nebraska-Kearney, and I think he'll find his way in there somewhere. He's a very good offensive lineman as well. Devin Niewarner also comes back for a 5th year. He had a medical hardship from a couple of years ago at tight end, and he's a big part of our run game. The running back, we're going to be very young. Starting out, Alex Dozie is a guy who went through spring football with us. He'll be a sophomore. Played a lot in our JV games a year ago. We had 3 senior tailbacks. But Alex is a good football player. Tyler Davis moved from slot receiver to running back in the spring. We have some young kids coming in, so there will be good competition there. At quarterback, we have a 4-year starter back in Anthony Dunn. He'll be a senior this year. We had a quarterback transfer in from Golden West Community College in California in January named Vince Peraza, who we expect will give Anthony a lot of competition in fall camp. And then Jeff Weander will be a sophomore for us, who's only been in the program a year. We think Jeff is a tremendous quarterback. It's a matter of when that really starts to show itself. So it'll be some good competition there at the quarterback position. I think that'll benefit the team. And our wide receiver core, we feel good about. Jeremiah Saffold, who's a 2nd-team all-conference receiver a year ago. Tyrone Curry is also back as a junior this year, and Jesse Verveldi will be back as well. Those are our top 3 receivers, and we have a bunch of other receivers who you haven't heard of yet, and some of those kids will emerge in fall camp and once the season starts, and I think we'll do some good things there as well. When you look at the schedule coming up, we start with Briarcliff up here in Sioux City on September 3rd, and that will be, I believe, the first GPAC game of the season for anybody. And then we go back up here, we'll head back up I-29, assuming it's open, to Dakota State up in Madison and play there the 2nd week on the 10th. And then our home opener will be on the 17th against the Red Raiders. That'll be our first game back in Crete. So as everybody up here, we're excited to get going. Feel like it's time for us to put up or shut up. It's been 4 years since our staff has been in Crete, and we have the pieces of the puzzle are there. We got to find a way to put them together and get things to stick together.